it's a plot to drop the IQ. Fighting amongst each other over rumors that don't like you. Prefer us trapped in melancholy with the wood ones, a holly. Suggestions that obliterate to camouflage the folly. Attempted mental robbery, executed sloppily. The poppers see this mockery and walk the talk with me. Put the hands up to touch the Akasha, cause you know deep down there's something bigger than your wallet.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. On the final day of the calendrical year for the last episode of this season of Rogue Ways, we have a show that will blow your mind and heal your soul. The man who has come to share a tale of humanity's beginnings that has nearly been lost to our people has come on the day that is traditional to tell this story, and we are the lucky recipients that get to receive in the fashion in which it was meant to be shared and at the perfect time, as all things are. Jim Chesnar, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Great, Lindsay. Thank you for having me today.
It's fantastic to have you. And before we get started, I'm going to remind people, all my lovely listeners out there, that you can now get really cool Rogue Ways gear on the site at rogueways.org, as well as find my poetry and writing and art and different things that you want to look into. And if you are into it, I also offer tarot readings. You can buy one for yourself or for a friend. It's a perfect way to seek deeper into something that you are pondering. And today is the last day that you can enter to win this lovely painting. Tomorrow I'm announcing the winner, so if you follow or subscribe to Rogue Ways on either DLive or YouTube, if you share the links to the DLive or YouTube channels, or if you share the site rogueways.org anywhere, you just send me an email about that and I will enter you to win that drawing. Again, it's tomorrow, so if you want a chance to win, enter now. And finally, thank you to everyone who is supporting me monetarily. The best way to do that is not through Super Chats on YouTube, and it's not even through the Lemon system on DLive. It is through PayPal. So if you want to donate to the show to keep it going, I don't have subscriptions or any of that, so that's how I get my support, and that is at paypal.me/Corey Sharman. Corey Sharman is my pen name, and it's QUORRISCHARMYN. I know it's a bad name to spell, but you can do it. I have faith in you. So, thank you to everybody who has supported me in some way and who is participating, and we'll find out who the lucky winner is tomorrow of that painting. Now, in classic Rogue Ways style, Jim, I always ask a pointless question of the episode, and I wanted to know from you what your favorite tree is and why.
My favorite tree is the Yggdrasil.
Ooh, good answer. Tree. Is it an ash tree?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know that about Yggdrasil. Cool. Yeah,
it was actually a real tree until the early 1990s. I've actually seen the tree.
Really?
But yes, it was cut down by the gardener at the church in Finland where it had been since the beginning of time.
Wow. Why was it cut down?
This saga that we're going to talk about today explains this tree very much, and it's from pagan times. And the church, the little church that in Finland where this tree was, they got spooked because it's not Christian. It's it's something else. And the gardener, he just cut the thing down. It was a huge tree in there for, I can't even tell you how long it had been there.
Wow.
All the members of the family that put this saga forward, when they died, they were all cremated, and their ash went into the roots of this tree.
Wow. Their ashes went into the roots of the ash tree. That's obviously poetic. I don't know any significance of ash in general. Do you know?
Well, in the saga, we say that the spirit is in the breath. So every time that I breathe in and breathe out, the spirit comes in and out. And on my last exhale, my spirit leaves my body into the air. But they said that the soul is in the cell of the body, like the sun is the life force that's in our body is from the sun.
Yes.
And before they at death, they didn't have graveyards. We all had family trees. And us, we the people, we had the oak tree, but this family, they had the ash tree. And so, yeah, this ashes to ashes. Yeah, when we died, we could stand on our family tree. We had the oak tree, so when our family died, our grandmother, our grandfather, my old aunt, my favorite sister, my older sister had all died. All their ashes had gone into the roots of the tree. And then there's a story about how our soul goes up through the tree and through the leaf and how it goes. But so the ash was very important.
Wow.
Before.
That's a very different family tree than we're used to, obviously, and it makes more sense to me, honestly, than the, family tree is just like a way of visualizing the structure of your family over time. So that's pretty cool. But I wonder, I was just down in the South recently, and they had a tree called the living oak. And I was like, well, all oaks are living if they're alive, so why is this one called the living oak? And I wonder if it was something like that, where it was a, traditional family tree or something, I don't know, though. Uh-oh. We may have frozen. Oh, Skype. I'll take this opportunity to look at some comments in the chat. Say what's up to Digital Yeti and Chrissy Perez and Lloyd TC Bear, Michelle. Hey, Michelle. Hi, Sasha. Dominic Hawkins is with us tonight. Happy New Year's, everybody. Jason Gay. Chrissy Perez, if I didn't say it already. Hey, what's up, Chrissy? Those are the people in the chat I can see. I'll take this opportunity to tell you, if you're on Facebook, I cannot see your comments. So if you want to hop over to DLive or YouTube, then I have a better chance. If you want to ask Jim a question and try to get me, to notice that and actually ask him, then that would be the place to do it. For some reason, Facebook, just the chat does not relay to the program that I use. So that is that. And we're hoping that Jim will come back to us to tell us more about what the Bock Saga is. I'll also take this opportunity to let you know this tree painting is sold, this beautiful tree painting, but this tree painting has not sold yet. So if you're someone who's into this, I think the price was $150. Don't quote me on that, but that's available. Austin Beach. Happy New Year, Austin. Half on DLive, half on YouTube. No, I'm multi-streaming. So people on Facebook are watching right now. We've got people on YouTube watching. We've got people on DLive watching. So this show is live and it's going out to all those places at once. And that's also why technical difficulties happen live as well. But I feel like Jim is talking and we're just not hearing it, and that drives me crazy. I see you, Jim. I just can't get you through clearly. Jim, if you can hear me, I cannot see or hear you really. If you want to leave the call and come back in, we could try to do that. What's up, Rose? Happy New Year. We have a good turnout of people for it being New Year's Eve. That's pretty cool. Thanks, everybody. Glad we could spend New Year's Eve together.
Well, you go back in.
There you are. No. Still all mangled.
We're breaking up.
Oh, yeah. I didn't hear you for the last maybe 2 minutes. Probably everything that you just said, nobody heard.
Actually, I didn't say anything because we were,
oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I thought you were talking that whole time and we missed it all. So I guess we'll start. Do you know what you were going to say, or should I lead into something? Okay, go for it. Take it away.
You were talking about the living oak.
Oh, yes.
So anyway, yes, in times before the church, we all had family trees. I think we've heard this family tree story. Yes. And we, the people, we belonged to the oak tree. So when we died, we didn't have graveyards and caskets and all that. Our soul was for the heathen people, the soul was in the ash after you were cremated. So our ash went under our family tree, and the oak was the the people's tree. So we were all belonging to the living oak before.
Oh, that is so cool.
When your tree became very old, the father of the family would cut the best branches from the old tree, and he would plant them and put water. And when they started to get roots and greens started to grow, they would cut the old tree down, and they would hollow out the stump, and they would fill it full of dirt and mud and sticks and water, and they would plant the branch of the old tree into the stump of the other one, and it would just keep growing. So you could keep your family tree going for thousands of years as long as somebody replanted it every 1,000 years. So
wow, that really kind of brings to mind this idea that has been coming to me over and over again lately, that our place is important, and that we used to have this idea that you had like a land or a place and that it would pass on to the next person, and not in this way where you're like greedy and keeping it from other people, but just in the way that like this is where you've put your energy and your time in multiple generations, and that is something sacred and that you want to keep that going. And we don't really have that anymore. We don't. In fact, a lot of people want to get rid of the idea of property and passing things down altogether, but we definitely don't have any stability. We're very mobile people, and we kind of just go anywhere we want. So it's a very different time.
yeah, before we didn't own the land so much. We had the rights. We lived in a king and queen system. And the king and queen, today we live in the president system. But before, you had the rights from... Your family had the rights to take care of this land, and if you didn't take care of it, you could lose the rights.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. If you're not taking care of it. Well, let's go back to the beginning and let's tell people listening what even is the Bock Saga, and how did you come across it?
Lindsay, I'm like you and your listeners and many other people. We're seekers of knowledge.
Yes.
And the knowledge we were taught in school, we weren't satisfied with. It didn't ring true. Not that all of it was BS, but it's just, so I'd travel around the world looking for some kind of truth. And in 1985, I heard a friend of mine gave me a cassette tape of another friend of mine who was telling this story that had come from Finland. And it just answered questions that I couldn't even imagine, that I had never even thought about even asking.
Yeah.
So I went to meet this last member of the family, and his name was Chesnar Bock. He was from Finland, and his mother and his sister had given him this saga. His mother was Rhea Bockström, and his sister was Raquel Bockström. And these two women, at the age of 7, started to give him this saga. It had been passed down in his family from a time we don't know anything about anymore. And so I heard this saga, and it's a 20-year story, which means it takes 20 years to pass it to the next generation.
Wow.
So I had the interest in it, and I gave up my life to just sit and listen to the saga. For his life, he spent his winters in India, so I was back and forth between these two as he's giving out this saga and this story to a small group of us.
Wow. So you traveled to India to get the story from him? Oh.
I had many years in India. I still have a little house there.
Wow.
So,
what a place.
It was a place where we could sit for... Go ahead.
Sorry. Oh, I was just going to say, what an interesting place to get it, because you're getting then this history, and then this sort of heathen and Finnish, Northern European aspect, but then also you're getting this Hindu, maybe influence or Buddhism influence from being in India as well.
Yeah, I mean, the saga has to do with everybody on the planet. We have... but the India was just a place where we could sit without a lot of confusion going around. We sat in this one place, and we could sit in, every day we sat from 10 o'clock in the morning till almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And we just, he would start to give this to get an oral saga, you have to listen to one story many, many, many times, again and
Yeah.
again and again, because it just doesn't come with one time. So,
No.
Yeah, he gave me the saga the way that his mother and his sister had given it to him.
So were you the only person receiving it then at that time, or was other people too?
No, there were other people. There's not a whole lot of us.
Yeah.
A really dear friend of mine from Holland, who he had known since the 70s, and he was there in the 24th of February 1984 when Eeyore started to give the story.
Wow.
So there's actually other people who know at least as much and not more than about it than I do.
Wow. You're just the main person who has kind of come out and been able to tell more people, I guess.
It's got so much detail in the story. I'm able to tell the saga in as few words as possible. The guy who knows more about it than me, if he starts to tell it, it takes him so long to tell it because he goes into great detail. So I just know how to tell the story simple.
It's almost like you're a translator for us, because most of us have been trained into these very short attention spans, and so we need someone like you who can just kind of give it to us straight.
Yeah, and just as few words as I can. But for every 5 minutes that I give, I could talk 2 or 3 hours about that.
I believe it. I mean, you have how many hours on YouTube alone, which isn't even the whole story, I imagine.
It's not the whole story. There's some very kind of taboo parts of the story that kind of are shocking.
Yeah.
I don't really go into so much of that. I mean, I know about it, but I kind of leave it where it's easy for the people to digest, because I don't want to freak everybody out. It's from a time we were really opposite of how we are today.
Definitely. I mean, we're so kind of trapped into so many boxes today, and controlled so heavily, and we control ourselves, but we're also controlled externally, and so we're very I can imagine a lot of shock at some pretty basic things that wouldn't have been shocking to us in the past.
Yeah, I mean, this story is based on nature, how we lived according to nature. And today we're what we would call normal. And normal and natural are completely opposites.
Agreed.
Absolutely opposites. So there was a time when it was normal to be natural, but today, it was a time when we ran around completely bare without clothes.
Yeah.
This is from that time.
Yeah.
And today we can't even think about doing this because everybody will freak out if they see me naked on the beach,
Yeah. I mean, there's like a handful of nude beaches in the world, and that's all.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
I've heard. Sorry.
I've tried to make it to all of those.
Yeah. I just know that, like, it's weird to me because people will even freak out about, like, kids, being naked or nude. And I'm like, they're children. Like, they're not sexual beings. And when I was a child, I would walk around without a shirt on because I thought it was neat because men did it. And I didn't think about it as, like, a man-woman thing. I was just like, oh, you can walk around with your shirt off? That seems way more comfortable. And I'd walk around with my shirt off. And I was, like, 4 years old. And our neighbors would, like, lose it. And they'd be like, why are you letting her walk around with her shirt off? And it's like, she's a kid. I was a kid, We're pretty crazy about sexuality and nudity,
especially America.
Mm.
We're we have all this. Yeah, it's just a very strange trip in America for sure. If a guy sees a girl's tit, it's like it's like in a real nature surrounding. There's men and women and children walking around naked in front of each other. It's no big deal.
Well, and then therefore I think it like doesn't have as much power. When Janet Jackson's like boob fell out at the Super Bowl, that got all this energy, all this attention, and then who knows what they did with that energy and attention, but it wouldn't have had that effect if we were just, natural. If we were okay, if we were like, oh yeah, natural. People have boobs.
I mean, I love kids, but I stay away from them just because, there's such a stigma, that what are you doing with that child? It's like, so in America, I'd like to go be their uncle, but I won't,
Yeah.
It's not like this. it's not like this when I live in India or Europe. They're the kids that don't have this kind of, it's kind of a disease that it really is over here in America and England, you know.
Yeah, like if you're even nice to a child that you don't know, then people suspect you of something untoward. Well,
Yeah, so you,
what types of kind of major truths do you think the Bock Saga sort of reveals about our past or our history or how things have changed?
well, for us, the sun is the center of everything. For us, the sun is the source of life. It's the source of consciousness and intelligence. If the sun didn't shine, this planet would be 400 degrees below zero, and in total darkness. There wouldn't be any no life at all. So we say that the soul comes from the soul, and that
Nice.
The sun made man and woman, and man made the concept of God. So for us, there is no creator God that created all this in 6 days. For us, basically the universe has always been, and it will always be. It had no beginning. It'll have no ending. The light has always been forever, and it'll be forevermore. So it doesn't need a creator or a creation to exist.
Can you imagine if people around the world just were able to really take that concept in alone, and how the world would change in an instant? If everybody understood, you know, that everything has always been and it always will be, not in its current iteration and not exactly how you are today and like you're going to die, but like just that life and the soul or whatever you want to think about that's always going to be there, that fear would just disappear, and therefore the ability to control us.
Yeah, I mean, today they have this concept of this almighty God who created everything, you know, and, you know, where did he come from? And, you know, in ancient times, mythology, and all people on this earth had mythology. The Red Indian has mythology, the Polynesian, the Greeks, mythology, the Romans, and then we had Aborigine, Chinese, India has mythology, and us, the people of Northern Europe. Myth means a story, which can be true. You know, today we think myth is not true, but it can be. And logi means logic, so it's a story with logic, mythology.
Yes.
And in mythology, we had the god and the goddess. The religions, I call the three religions, the Jewish, the Muslim, and the Christians. These are religions; they're not mythologies.
Yeah.
And they threw out the goddess. And in our time, it was, you had the god of agriculture, love, the sun, the moon. You had this, it was more of not a creator god, but a god that represented the god of the thunder, god of the sky, the god. So we had this concept of God, but then you had goddess, the god of love, beauty, the earth, the compassion, the sky, the love. So we had this God and goddess concept, but it wasn't this creator God. It was more nature powers.
Yeah. And kind of that balance that's always in nature of masculine and feminine, yeah. And that's how things are created. I mean,
yeah. And so the religion threw out the goddess.
And why do you think they did that?
You know, this religion, you know, I tell people that 95% of the wars on this planet today are made by the Christians, the Muslims, and the Jews.
Yep.
The Hindus, the Buddhists, us pagans, we don't have anything to do with them. So it's these religions that are causing all the conflict on the earth. As far as I see that they're a disease, they're, you know, if you think about this Old Testament, you have this guy sitting up in a freezing vacuum who made it all in 6 days. And then he made man from dirt. And then he made woman from the rib of the man. And then he makes this guy who gets swallowed by a fish and lives for 3 days and comes out okay. And then he makes this other guy who builds a boat and puts 7.5 million different species of plants and animals and floats around for a year.
Yeah.
And then the Bible says that the earth is only 6,000 years old. You know, so I don't know. I mean, can you? It's the difference between believing and understanding. You know, it's the things that the religion asks you to believe. You know, it's beyond belief.
Right.
You know, the difference between believing and understanding is proof and evidence. Believing requires neither.
Yeah.
Whereas understanding, it has to have proof or evidence. So.
Yes.
I always say if a person could take their brain out of their head and wash it in a little dish of water, and all the beliefs go into the water, and they put the brain back in the head,
Yeah.
only truth would be left.
That would be so excellent. We need to figure out how to do that.
The Bock Saga.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will make you come to grips with your beliefs. Excuse me.
Bless you. You're fine. I hope it's a passing thing. I know I had a really bad cough for, like, I guess mine wasn't that bad. It was only a couple weeks, and some people who are getting that flu was much longer than a couple weeks, but hopefully that is not what you're dealing with. But
Well, unfortunately, I've only got a short time to live.
you know that for
Because
sure.
I've got, yeah, I take this medication and it's not working much anymore. So, but
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
it's okay. No, it's really, you know, it's the young people. You know, you take my place. So we all have to go. It's a wheel of life. So I have no, you know, I had a great life. So it's not, I don't have any bad feelings at all about it. It's just that, yeah, it's like that.
It is. Well, that makes me even more grateful that I get to have your time tonight. Because who knows how it, you know, when else we might have it. But I want to hear more about what the Bock Saga says about the creation of humans and how humans sort of came to be and why and how it's different from the traditional ideas that people have or their beliefs.
Well, in our story, the Adam and Eve were called Frey and Freya. And we have this word Godfrey,
Yeah.
which is the god. Freya is the goddess. I can explain about it's. Yeah, this is kind of. It'll take a few minutes to actually explain
Okay.
where these people come from. This saga says that the earth hasn't always been. It says that originally there were two suns. The story says there's only one sun. There's only one moon. There's only one planet. And there's millions of stars. So for us, Mars and Venus and Saturn are not planets. They're stars. They call them the morning star, the evening star. And we say that the stars are reflections of the sun. Just like when we look at the moon, Mars, and Venus, they're reflecting the sunlight. So in the saga, it says that if you go into the universe, there are no more suns. Today they say that all the stars are suns, but we say no.
There's only one.
That the star is made out of metal, ice, and gas. And these three reflect the light. So the sun is shining its stroller, or its light rays, in all directions constantly. Even the backside of the sun is shining its light that way. So when these light rays leave the sun, they go out into this vacuum. And in this vacuum are millions and millions of stars. And stars don't have their own light. They're not suns. And when this light ray leaves from the sun and goes out 6 light years, 60 light years, 600 light years, however far it goes, when it comes to one of these things we call a star, the light can't go through the star. So it hits the star and reflects the light back to us. So according to this, if the sun didn't shine the stars wouldn't shine, the moon wouldn't shine, the planets, what we call the planets wouldn't shine, and this earth would be dark and dead and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So we put the whole universe to one sun.
Wow.
Originally, there was two suns. There was a big sun, which we see up there today, and there was another little sun. And this little sun had one form of an egg. It had a hot ball of what we call magma. They call magma. And it was surrounded by a sack of water with a shell called atmosphere. Atmosphere. Sphere is a ball. So it's, and one day this magma, we call it magma, this hot ball that's like a little sun, exploded. And when it exploded, it went boom, and it blew out all these continents where they are today. They weren't all on one side and moved over here. Australia's always been there.
Okay.
Antarctica's always been there. America's always been here. So this explosion blew out these continents in the form of granite. And in this explosion, when it exploded out, this water bubble around this egg exploded and popped and rushed in and filled in the spaces between these granite rocks, these continents. So in our story, the Big Bang was this Earth. It wasn't this nothing blowing up and causing everything. So in the very first second of this planet, it's just rock and water.
Wow.
And the very first sound was the wind. And from the sunlight coming into the water, there started a one-cell green organism we call algae in English. In this language that the saga comes from, they call it algae.
Algae.
And all means everything, and gay means the ground.
Huh.
So it's the all-giving. So the first life on the planet was algae. And from this algae, it starts to mutate through evolution to become different plants in the water, become ferns and all these different things. And then one day the green left the lakes and came onto the ground, to the rock, and started to put green onto the land, and it starts to make the soil, which the soil comes from the soul. So all this soil on the ground is rotted, dead, living stuff that's made from the sunlight. And it says that the human being, we evolved from the green algae, and one day this algae created one animal called the eel, the first living animal on the planet, the eel.
Huh. Which is like a snake.
Eel, yeah. If you sprout a seed, it pops up with a head, a body, and a little tail.
True.
Okay, so, and if you look at one sperm, there's a body, a tail, and a head.
Yeah.
So this eel, from an eel came an eel came an eel over millions of years, until one day the eel evolved into one frog. And now this eel, now in the frog state, moved on to the earth. And from a frog came a frog came a frog over millions of years, until one day the frog evolved into one monkey, one ape. And in this language that we come from in the saga, the name for an ape is called Appa. So our first papa was an Appa. Is there anything you want to say here, or should I continue?
No, please continue. I'm having a technical difficulty while you tell this.
It says that the earth hasn't always been tilted over like it is today. The North Pole and South Pole, the saga says, was vertical before. It was sitting straight up and down. And this earth was spinning like this, and the sun was here. So as we were spinning, on the equator, there was 12 hours a day and 12 hours a night. But if you were standing on the very top of the earth, or the very bottom, the sun made a 24-hour golden ring around the top of the earth. And that's what we're going to start this story with.
Okay.
And at the very top of the earth was one ring of land, 250 kilometers in diameter, 125 kilometers in radius, one ring of land at the very top of the axle or the axis of the planet.
Okay.
And this ring land was called the Garden of Uden.
Like Odin.
Yeah, Uden, there's an old poem in English. It goes like this. Uden is a ring. Uden is everything. Uden has always been, and Uden will always be, and Uden is the sun. So if you look at the sun at just the right angle, you can see a white ring around it.
Yeah.
And this is the ring of Uden.
Huh.
So for us, Uden was represented by the All-Father and the All-Mother, which I'm going to come to in just a minute.
Okay.
This ring of land at the top of this axis, we have many names for this axis. You can call it one axis. You can call it a pole, North Pole, South Pole. You can also call it E, and E is like a pole with a dot above it. We say IE in English, IE, but E is like Hawaii. E is the pole with a dot. And that's the little dot above the E is the North Star. And the E represents the masculine because the pole is masculine and the ring is feminine.
Huh.
So this story says that millions of years ago, I'm not even going to tell you how many millions of years ago, on this island, the very North Pole, in this ring land, with this sun going around in a 24-hour golden day, it never went above, and the whole planet was tropical in this beginning. There was no ice on the earth.
Wow.
So the very North Pole, it was a ring of land, 24 hours a day, sun, banana, papaya, coconut. And in the middle of this ring of land is one island, which is still there today. And it's called Uden's or the island of Uden, the island of the sun. It's been changed now. They don't call it that anymore, but that was the original name. And on this island, in the nature, animals do not crossbreed. The tuna fish goes with the tuna and makes new tuna. The oak tree goes with oak tree and makes new oak trees. But the sun is creating this. The sun is making up this whole movie we live in.
Yeah.
The sun is alive. It's conscious. It's not, if it's making the life, if it's making the consciousness and the intelligence, it must be these things itself.
Yes.
So the sun creates a one-time situation. It's only happened one time. On this island at the North Pole, there came one appa, one ape, and one nanny goat. Now the goat and the ape, and this ape has one pili, which is his penis. And the nanny goat has something called pilu, which is the vagina. So the monkey, inside the monkey's balls is something called imbla. It's for sperma, it's imbla. So the animals, they don't have sperma. It looks like it, but it's not the same. And so this monkey, this appa, puts his pili into the pilu of the nanny goat. And out come the first two people on the planet. The woman is the P. The woman is the P. She's the circle. And the pole is the man. So the P and the pole. If you put the pole into the P, you make one more people.
Yeah. So, does this have any connection with why we like feel or seem to have this symbology over and over again of goats being evil?
Well, that was put into us for the church. Because this is called the Bock Saga, and the Bock is the male goat.
Oh, okay.
So it's the saga
Of this
we
male
call
goat.
it Buck
Okay.
in English.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so if you this Bock, this male it was a female goat to begin with, and the male ape.
Mm-hmm.
And now in this North Pole, in the middle of this ring of land called Udenma, still in the very top of the pole, there's a hole in the granite. I've been to this place many times. Still there today. You can't see it. It's built underneath a museum, but anyway. And this hole is in the top of the E. And this is where the word holy comes from. So the land around the holy is the Holy Land.
Mm-hmm.
So we're coming from what is called the Holy Land. Every man has one E with a hole in the end of it, and every woman has her E, her clitoris, which has one hole in the end of that.
That's true.
So we're both holy.
True.
We both have holy. And in this situation, there comes 2 children born. The first 2 humans on the planet. And this first man, he is called Frey. And he's the god. He's the god Frey.
Okay.
He's the first human. And his sister, she is called Freya. And she is the first goddess on this planet. So this first 2 humans, the Adam and Eve, for the pagans, for us, was Frey and Freya. Now I can finish this in about 3 minutes, and then we can go.
Oh, you take all the time you want. This is fascinating.
Okay. So in this hole, in the top of the E of the planet, we call Valhalla in the mythology. In the language, we call it Himmel in Swedish, Taivan in Finnish, and in English, heaven. So the heaven for us is on this earth at the very North Pole. It's not up in the vacuum. So these first two people were born in the Valhalla. They're born in the heaven. They're born in this hole, in the holy. And they eat the milk. They drink the milk from the mother, the female goat. And they start to grow. This story is based in sounds. And I'm not going to go so much into linguistics today, but I'll have to a little bit start to explain about where our words come from.
Yeah.
And in English, we have the words, we say sperm, but actually it's called sperma.
Sperma.
Beautiful word.
Yeah.
Sperma.
That's way better. Sperma.
Yeah. And it has the sound S, P, E, R, M, A, sperma. For us, S means the sun, or Sulan. Per means the All-Father. We're all sons and daughters of Per. We're pair sons, persons, pair sons and daughters. And Ma is the mother, coming from the word magma. We say magma, but M-A, G-M-A. The G means the ground or the groon. If you pull that down, you have mama. So the ground is our mama. It's made from magma.
Yeah.
And the first mother was Freya. So it said that it all started with incest. It was brother, sister who started this homonym. And at the age of 7, the first male, Frey, gets a very special gift from the sun. The sun gives to the first pair, the first father, and to the first mother, the first ma, something called sperma. Sperma. So in the seed, on his 7th birthday, in the seed of the first man on the planet, we get something called alphabet. All is all, fa is the father, the alpha. The alpha, we spell it TH, but it's all fa.
Hmm.
It's F-A, fa, fa. And bet means to bait something. You bait it, you bait, you bet, you bet. So in his balls, from the sun, he gets 29 sounds.
29.
What we call the root alphabet. And these 29 sounds go like this. E, A, B, C, D, A, F, G, Ho, E, E, Ko, L, M, N, U, P, R, S, T, U, V, X, E, Zeta, O, A, and And from 29 sounds, all these languages on this planet today are created from these 29 sounds.
Wow.
All of them. So the sun is going to give to the human being 4 things that it didn't give to the goat or the monkey or the animals, the nature. It gives us linguistics, where now we can name the tree, the design of the leaf, the color of the leaf, how many branches. We can give description where the animals can't do this. So linguistics is huge. Also, it gives to the woman something called fire, because the woman, she was given the fire through one lightning bolt from the sun. The first woman on this earth got fire.
That's also interesting.
Because tea was very...
Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Oh.
I was just saying the lightning part is interesting because the Lucifer character, which we're, taught to look at as negative and evil, also, fell with the lightning. And then, like you were saying, the goddess has been sort of pushed out of this whole story. And so it's interesting that the woman is always like, made into the sort of demonic or negative in all of these. Not in the Bock Saga. The Bock Saga is not doing that, but in all of the others. And that here again, we see that sort of lightning symbolism.
Yeah, what we're talking about, this ringland at the top of the planet also had the name Asgard, Midgard. It was also called Hell. So this story comes from hell. But hell wasn't a negative place. Hell was the North Pole. Today it's called Helsinki. But before, hell was it was the oldest. It's where the first 2 people were born, in hell. But anyway, I'll just finish this. So we were given the linguistics, the fire. The women were given what we call mathematics. They say matematik. So Mama was given matematik. Papa wasn't. So the woman was given mathematics. And the 4th thing that we were given was the walking stick, because when the bird can't fly and the animal can't walk and the fish can't swim, it's their last day. But when the human being, when one day we can't walk anymore, we can get a stick and still go around for a few more weeks or months.
Yeah. So
we got the linguistics, the fire, the mathematics, and the stick. 4 things that the sun gave to the human that didn't give to the...
Linguistics, stick, fire, and mathematics.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It's almost like the 4 elements, right? You have air, earth, fire. You'd have to make the mathematics water. Or maybe the mathematics would be air and the linguistics would be water. Or maybe there's no connection there, but...
Yeah, I don't know about that, but yeah. These are just 4 nature gifts. That's all you can say. They're nature gifts that we got that the animals didn't get. So, I've seen pictures of a gorilla that... just a second. Of a gorilla that can do sign language. The other day I saw an elephant that can draw a picture of another elephant and write his name on it. So animals have intelligence also.
Yes.
They just they can't speak,
Yeah. I know, and I sometimes wonder if animals are sort of, evolving alongside us or something, and that their abilities will increase, and then we'll see our equal maybe almost someday.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the nature, I see it. The nature's here for us. It's all a show for us. You know, we're the we're the ones that take care of the planet, or are supposed to.
Supposed to. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, today we don't.
No. And especially, I mean, my biggest concern is that we're seem to be blocking out the sun with our whatever you want to call them, stratospheric aerosols, chemtrails, geoengineering. It's, you know, it used to be something that you were laughed at for talking about in a conspiracy theory, and now it's like they're touting it openly on the news, and Bill Gates is saying that he wants to do it, and all these people are, it's suddenly everywhere in the media, and it's going to be in the media more and more, and no one asked us, you know, if it was okay, and no one apologized for calling us crazy for all these years, but it's clearly that they've been, you know, blocking out the sun, and sometimes almost seeming to amplify it, but in like the worst ways. You know, like sometimes they spray and I feel like I'm like burning almost. But that's really concerning because, like you're saying, the sun is a living consciousness. It's the source of life physically, but it's also the source of life, you know, consciously. And so if we are blocking that out, what, why would we ever do that? You know, it's bad for every living thing, literally. It just seems crazy to me.
Because, yeah, nobody realizes that the sun is the maker of life anymore.
I don't know how you could miss it. It's like, seems so obvious.
I can ask 100 people, where does your life come from? And maybe 2 out of 100
That's
point
crazy.
to the sun. Everybody else to God, to blah, blah, this to blah, blah, that to God, blah, blah, blah. But very few people really realize that the sun is alive and that everything, every cell in my body, every thought in my mind is made of sunlight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if there's no soul, there's no soul. So it's, but we're just not taught that in school.
No.
We're not taught that anywhere. The Bock Saga, it brought this information. You know, you were talking about the light to the darkness. So this story is about how we come from the light into the dark minds of today, because they just don't realize what this sun really is.
Yeah.
You know, a long time ago, we built temples for the sun in ancient times because they understood all this 5,000 years ago.
Well, and I hate that they paint that as this, like, oh, they were just less intelligent people and they didn't get it and they looked at the sun and thought it was a god, and so they built these temples. And it's like, I don't think they're idiots. You know, like, their temples surpass what we can do now, so they clearly had an understanding that, you know, surpassed us in some ways at least, and I don't know why you would just assume that they're dumb.
Well, that, and also you see these lines that come out from these temples, and they say, oh, it's UFO, because they're the only ones who can see it. But when these people built the sun temple, they understood that the sun was looking down smiling. It's the smiley face.
Mm.
And look, the people are making a temple for me, the sun is smiling. So the people really understood before, the whole planet understood that the sun created the life, and it was a living thing. And also we have this word called panorama.
Mm.
Pan, sun. Ra is the moon. And Ma is the earth. So the sun, the Pan, and the Ra are looking down on the earth in one panorama.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah, so before, when they made a moon temple, the moon has all to do, the light side of the moon is called Ra. And Ra has to do with the gravity. We say gravity in English, but it's gravity. So this earth is spinning in centrifugal or centrifugal force between the sun and the moon. So without the moon or the sun, nothing can exist on this earth. So before, the moon was very important also. Today the people just look at the moon and nobody has any idea of what this moon really is.
Yeah, there's a lot of tendency too, I think, in some people's minds to make the moon be sort of almost evil, or like it was brought here, you know, from somewhere, that it was constructed and like to control us or something. You know, there's some of these kind of theories, and I don't know. It feels like if it's been there forever and it's part of the balance, then it's part of the cycle, and you know, I don't know. It doesn't seem so evil to me.
No, there's nothing. There's the dark side. The dark side called Mar, and the light side is called Ra. And yeah, there's there's stories of the moon. There's like stories like dark stories, things we have to watch out for.
Yeah.
It can happen, but there's not any negative to either one of them. I don't find any negative at all in the saga, you know.
Yeah.
And actually, to be honest with you, the God and the devil are the same person.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no evil in, you know, the Davil, the day wheel, the Davil, the wheel, the David, the wheel, and the wheel. In these ancient times, the wheel was called the life wheel or the light wheel, and it was symbolized by the swastika. And what they did is they took a tree, a little tree, and they cut the top off, and they put a stick in a hole in the middle of the stump, and they made a ring of wood with a cross, an even cross, which was the representative of hell of this north land. And they put this little hole that was in the middle of this ring with this cross, they put it on the stick. So now you had this stump with a stick with a ring on top. And this cross came a little beyond the ring on four sides. And from these four sides, they put a paper bow full of something called sulfur in English. They call it swabble in root language. And this is the swastika. The sulfur stika, a stick. And they put the fire to these four bows, and this wheel would start to spin around. And it would start to make this wheel of light, of fire, spinning around and around, which represented as the people were coming out from this top of the planet. As Ray and Freya started to make people, as we started to populate the planet, it represented the life wheel, the light wheel, the people coming out to these different countries, continents all over, because the whole life started in hell. Hell is from the beginning. In the root language, hell is spelled H-E-L, not H-E-L-L. That's the English. And in the root language in Swedish, it's also Swedish and root is very close. Hell means complete. So when you look at the universe, it's complete. There's nothing missing out there. Everything that's supposed to be there is there. So actually everything is hell. Hell means complete or total, means all, everything. If you look into the Swedish dictionary, that's what hell means.
Wow.
It's 50 words, more than 50 words in the dictionary to start with hell. And only one of them's bad, and that's the Catholics, you know, the Christians.
Of course.
And they made hell to be this evil place. But in this story, hell's not evil. The demon, the moon. Look at the moon. Isn't it beautiful? The demon.
There's the negative.
And the pair, the All-Father pair, he gave all information out in verse. So he was pair verse. The Father's verse, the Father's poem. So everything was in the Yun-E verse. It was a poem. Everything was a verse. Mm-hmm. And Lindsay has her version, and Jim has his version, and Papa has his version called pair version. And version, Shun means the Son. So it's the Father's verse to the Son. And it became perversion.
Perversion. Oh, perversion.
So all these words that we think of as negative today, if you take it into the sound system, they're all positive.
So how do you think that we got so screwed up? Like, why have we got things so wrong currently?
You know, that's a very big question. It would take quite a bit of time.
Yeah. I mean,
it kind of goes a taboo subject for me to answer that question. It's in maybe one of my videos. I mentioned it a little bit, but we're kind of saving that for another time, though.
Okay.
I would say evil today. If I look into nature, there is no evil. The hurricane is not evil, even if it blows your house down. The snake bites somebody, that's not evil. One fish eats another fish, that's not evil. So when man and woman, when we went away from the nature life, things went out of touch. And today, the whole planet is evil because, I mean, everything we do, for me, the difference between good and bad is if I do something and it's harming my Mother Earth, that's evil.
Yeah.
If I do something that doesn't harm the Mother Earth, that's good. It's not evil. And my lifestyle, all of our lifestyles, our plastic, fantastic cars, and
This
we're all
computer.
destroying the Earth,
Yeah.
everything. So, you know, yeah. So if we could live more like the nature, we wouldn't be so evil. And the religion had much to do with this. They took us so far away from nature. You really go into the religion.
I mean, to the point where we look at nature as dirty and bad and scary, and we're taught that if you have like if you're living in your natural surroundings and kind of gardening and stuff, like you're going to be like filthy and lower than other people. It's like we have all these associations that we were taught to be with nature is negative almost always, and in reality, the best I ever feel is when I'm in nature, ever.
For me, the only really good people left is if you go into Discovery Channel.
Yeah.
And they find these little tribes back in the deep jungle of the Amazon, and all the families naked. They don't have any technology, and they're all running around with big smiles, happy, just naked in front of each other.
Yep.
And they're not hurting the earth at all. Their life, and they've been living like that for a long, long time.
And they're
today,
almost.
Today, if you said something like that, you go, "Oh, those people are prehistoric. I would never live like that." But yet, they're not
happier.
harming the earth.
And they are happier, and they're often healthier. They often have better teeth than we have, which is crazy because we think it's like dentist work and like brushing our teeth and flossing. That it's not. It's all nutrition. They're just often much more nutritious lifestyles than we have. We live on processed crap, and it rips our bodies apart slowly. They don't have to deal with that.
We're an experiment. Let's give these people. When I was born in the late 40s, it was just the beginning of the petrochemical fertilizer and poisons they sprayed.
Mm.
My grandfather, my grandmother grew up on organic food without pesticides.
And they didn't even call it that because it was just food.
It was just food.
Yeah.
We've been eating this. They put the blue magic chemical on and make a carrot. And it looks like a carrot. It tastes like a carrot. But it's made out of chemicals. I mean, there's nothing organic about it. So we're like this experiment. Let's give these people fake food and fake this and see what happens after.
Block out the sun. Yeah. Do you think that it's possible that because people are saying that we're kind of heading into this like solar minimum, and if the sun is our source of consciousness and we're having like sort of a solar minimum, or the sun is less active than normal or reducing its activity in some way, and then also they're blocking it out, do you think that part of the reason that we're so easily disconnected from nature now and are kind of going down this negative path is partially that we're like not getting as maybe direct of a line or as strong of a signal or something?
All right. I'll give a short story for this.
Okay.
Global warming. Global warming, everybody's freaking out about. In the beginning, there was no ice on this planet. The whole planet was tropical. We can find dinosaurs, we can find pollen and stuff underneath this earth where there's been glaciers for millions of years. So when the ice came, this whole planet was tropical, even the North Pole. One day, man did something that caused this planet to tilt over. It wasn't an asteroid. It was something that we did, and I won't go into that today.
Okay.
But when we stopped what we were supposed to be doing, this axle, it tilted over. It fell over 23 degrees. It took 90 days. This family was alive when this happened.
Wow.
In the beginning, we call it the paradise. the paradise time. This was the time when the whole planet was tropical. We were all naked people, millions of years ago. The human being is very many millions of years. We're not. And when this planet, this ball, and in the middle of this ball, there's a pole. And this pole has, like I said, we can call it an E, an axle, but it's also a lance, a lance. A lance is like this, is a pole like this, these lanciers where they used to. So in the middle of the ball is a lance. And this lance and the ball tilted over, and we fell out of balance. See, today we say balance.
Yeah.
So we don't get the association of ball and lance. So in this root language, ball and lance is balance. So we just pronounce it different. And when this planet tilted over, it took 90 days. And the sea evaporated to the top and the bottom of the planet. And the sea went up and the east or ice came down and covered the whole top of the planet with ice and the whole bottom. And everything froze. Now today, the saga says we're getting ready to tilt back up. And to do this, the sun has to melt off these poles, which it's really doing quickly. These glaciers are falling apart. For the last 50,000 years, they've just been sliding and melting and breaking. So this story, probably in your lifetime, maybe not mine, this axis is going to go back up and the planet's going to be spinning in harmony with the moon again. Harmony. So this ice melting off is all in the sun. It really doesn't have so much to do with what our mess that we're making in the atmosphere. It has to do with the sun. The sun is melting it off.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in the next few years, this planet will go back up and the whole planet will be tropical. We'll have no more ice. It's what they call the new nude paradise.
I'm down with that. Let's bring it on. I'm ready. I hope that there's no way that anybody can stop that.
No, it's not. It's in this saga, the women in this family made the future using mathematics and something called astrology, what we call astrology. This family that the story come from are called the Os people, or Osser. And true means a belief, and logi means logic. So the astrology, the astrology, means the logic of the belief of the Osser. So the women had this star system, and they had the mathematics. So the women in this family, they were creating the future. And the men, we kept the his story. So in this story, I give the history. The saga is a saga which is passed down from generation to generation. It's a history of the human race. It's also a mythology called the Wainamoinen mythology, which is, we had mythology before we had religion. And it's also based in what we call linguistics, in a root language, in a root alphabet. So, and there's where the real key of understanding this. The story in itself makes its own logic, but when you go into the linguistics of 3 languages, that's where the proof is of the story.
And what are the 3 languages?
The root language that Frey and Freya made up from this alphabet that Frey got is called the root, and it's very much like Swedish. They speak it in Sweden, and they speak it in Finland. So if you get a Swedish dictionary, you basically have got the root language.
Okay.
And the second language is called the Van language. And the Van language is the Finnish language. And the third language is English. And English doesn't come from Latin or Greek. It comes from root and Van language. It comes from Swedish and Finnish. And I can't go into that right today because that's a huge subject. So there's 6 billion people or whatever on this earth, and only a very few, like 5 or 6 million, speak the bond, and only 20 million speak the root. And so the rest of the billions of people are all learning English, and the story will come in English. It's the language created to tell the story.
I love this concept that the women are creating the future. I don't know. That just rings something that feels true to me. I had someone in the chat ask if you would tell us about the 13 root races.
Yes, yes. We'll start out. I'm sitting here in Hawaii, so I'm going to start with this. There's 13 pure races of people on this planet, all created by the sun. And these 13 races are millions of years old. They're not a few thousand or 10,000 or 50,000. They're millions. And I'll start here in what we call Polynesia, which is Hawaii, New Zealand, Tonga, Marshall Islands, Samoa, all these, Tahiti, all these islands that are sitting here in the Pacific. This is one race of people.
Okay.
A beautiful race of people. If you leave from the Polynesia, let's say we go to Australia, and there you have these people called Aborigine. They're millions of years old. They don't look anything like the Polynesian. They have their own outlook. They have their own music, their own culture, their own mythology. The Hawaiians have their own mythology. All these 13 races have, there's 11 mythologies, which I'll explain.
Yeah.
So we start with the Polynesians, we go to the Aborigine. If you go up from there, you come to what this country we call India today, which we call the Hindustan. And these beautiful people that could talk like this, very nice people. I spent many, many years with them. They're their own race of people. They don't look anything like this Aborigine, nothing like a Polynesian. They're their own people with their own culture, own music, on everything. If you go above the Hindu, you come to what we call the Chinese or the Asian with this beautiful eye. That's my favorite eye on the planet. I get lost in these incredible. They're just incredible, beautiful people. I spent more than 10 years in Thailand with the Buddhists there, and these are all Chinese people originally. So I know these. So you have the Polynesian, the Aborigine, the Hindu, and the Asian, 4 pure races of people. You come over and down a little bit, you come to this, what we call the Hellas, or the Middle East today. There's all these countries, Iran, Iraq, those were all called Hellas a long time ago. The Greek. And Hellas is the Os people from hell. So from Os, hell, that was another name for hell. It was called Os, hell. The Os are people in hell. They went out and they created Hellas. And they have their mythology, they have their outlook, these beautiful people in the Middle East, beautiful people. But they don't look anything like the Chinese, the Hindu, the Aborigine, or the Polynesian. So they're a pure race of their own. If you go over from them, we have what we call the Roman mythology, the Greek mythology, the Roman mythology. And these people in the Roman, there are all these countries around the Mediterranean. Italy, Portugal, Hispania, Spain, Morocco, Algeria, all the way to Egypt, a little part of Egypt. And all these beautiful people around this Mediterranean with this beautiful honeycomb color, with these beautiful noses, they're another pure race of people. If you go below this northern Mediterranean, you have what we call Africa today. And we have what we call the blacks. But in our story, we call them the blue people because they're not really black. They're blue if you really look at them.
That's true.
And they're a beautiful race. And they're a beautiful race of people. And these blue people don't look anything like the Roman, nothing like the Greek, nothing like the Chinese, nothing like the Hindu, nothing like the Aborigine, nothing like the Polynesian. They're their own pure race of people.
Yeah.
And if you come to what we call the Americas today, which was actually called India a long time ago, you have these people called Indians. And in the south, you had the Inca Indians. They're their own pure race of people. In the middle, in Mexico, you have what we call the Mayan Indians. They're another race of people with a king and queen.
Huh.
And when you get up to the United States, we have what we call the Aztec people. So all these red Indian tribes, the Chickasaw, the Apache, the Lakota, the Zuni, the Navajo, these are all one race of people, just different tribes in one race. So you have the Aborigine, one, the
We have
Polynesian,
and Hindu,
Polynesian, Aborigine, Hindu. Go ahead.
Chinese or Asian, the Hellas, the Mediterranean group, the Blue people, the Inca, the Maya, the Aztec. So we're at 10. So we have 3 more.
That's the 10 tropical races
Okay.
on the planet. So we have 10. We have 10 tropical, and we have 3 what we call arctical or white races.
Huh.
And the original white race is the Finnish and Russians. This white skin with blue eyes or green eyes and light hair, it's pretty obvious that it comes from the north. It doesn't come from the south.
Yeah.
So the original, and in the saga, we give a very describe how this white race came out from. Originally, we were all brown and all had brown eyes and all had brown skin. But something happened when the ice time came to where these people got trapped in the ice up of years, and we start to lose our pigment, and we become with white skin, blue and green eyes, and yellow hair.
Interesting.
So the original white race is the Finnish and Russian, and then from there come 2 other white races. From 9,035 years ago, 2 brothers jump out from this Bock family, these Osser people, and one was called Don, and one was called Sven. And Sven, he went to a place called Uppsala, Sweden, and started the Swedish, Norwegian, Icelandic, Greenland, Scottish, and Irish. And from Don comes Denmark or Danish. And from Dane, these are called the Vikings, we 2 kings. And from Don comes Germany, Switzerland, Holland, Belgium, England, France. So this whole white Europe is coming out from these 3 white races. And
So
they have their
Finnish, Russian, and Danish?
Finnish and Russian are the original white race.
Oh, that's 1. And then Danish, and then...
The Danish and the Swedish are the next 2 more.
Okay. Wow, that's fascinating. I've never heard it broken down like that before, but it's like you said, those are all distinct looking groups that have their distinct cultures.
Yeah, I mean, today they just want to put Neanderthal and this and that, blah, 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 but we have a completely different story, Cro-Magnon, and these 13 races still exist today.
Yeah.
And then we have 3 mixed races. We have one called Tartar, and the Tartar is the Hindu crossed with the Russian. It's a brown race of people crossed with a white race. We have the Mongol, which is the Chinese crossed white Russian. So you have another tropical crossing with the white to make the Mongol, and the Slavs are a cross between the Hellas people and the Russian, the white. So we have these 3 mixed races today. And today, a long time ago, we didn't mix races. We'd never mix with another race. And when the religions really had much to do with, it's very normal today for different races to mix. It's normal, but it's not natural.
Right.
So today we're in the normal again. There we go, back with the normal. So, and I have friends that are black and white and Spanish and white and Hindu and Chinese. So it's very normal today, but a long time ago we wouldn't do this.
Right.
We stayed in our own race.
It kind of makes sense to me too.
Like the nature. The oak tree doesn't go with the palm tree, and the tuna fish doesn't go with the mackerel. And actually, the reason, like even in the squirrels, if you take the squirrels, you have a red squirrel, brown squirrel, and a black squirrel.
Yeah.
They don't cross either.
And they'll live
They
in the
stay-
same location. You know, they could.
Yeah, but they don't cross. And the reason for this is because when the sun created the nature, it made it pure. So in everything that we see, every bird, every butterfly, every squirrel, every dog, everything is an art. And if you start to cross the arts, if we took all the squirrels and crossed them together, we just end up with one in the end, and we'd lose however many different kinds of squirrels there are. So before, nothing in the nature crossed.
Yeah.
Only the human being one time, the goat and the monkey. That
So
was the only time that would.
there's two things that I want to get to, and one is I want to go back to the Tartar race and ask you some questions about that. But somebody's bringing up and saying that this idea you're having about, you know, the race is not crossing or whatever has to do with eugenics. But my understanding of eugenics is that it's a way of killing off a certain race or section of people and sort of breeding out impurity. Do you think that that is an accurate way to describe this idea that the races used to not cross?
Yeah, absolutely. Because let's take a Hawaiian. They were a pure race of people, but now when the white Christians came over to Hawaii, now they start to cross into the pure race. They take their genes and cross it.
Yeah.
So now, actually, according to the Root Dictionary, the definition when you take two races and cross it is actually a bastard.
Huh.
And I'm a bastard.
I'm
Most
a bastard.
Americans are bastard. We're most
Yeah.
we're all crossed. So it doesn't have any has nothing to do with whether your mother and father are married or not. Nothing.
Right.
It has to do with whether I'm a race and I'm another race and I'm a cross. I'm a cross between 4 or 5 different races.
Yeah.
So, you know, but there are still pure Hawaiians. There are still pure Chinese. There are pure Hindu. There's still pure people who have never been crossed. And these are, it doesn't make them any better than us that aren't
Yeah.
crossed, but it's just how it was before.
Oh no.
We said it's normal for us to cross.
We're getting a little dicey. Oh, I think we're back. Okay, that makes
Okay.
sense to me. I think that that's a fair description too. It's just an interesting, that word is like a trigger, you know, because we're, if we look at the people who promote a certain type of eugenics today, it's based on control and oppression and not on this idea that you might want to preserve your sort of genetic code and your culture and whatnot, which is a totally different, intention.
I give this example. If I was to go to one of these pure red Indians there in America that's never been crossed, they still, in the genealogy, if you go back on your mother's side and your father's side, and there's no, if I ask a pure red Indian and she her to marry another of your tribe or marry the French guy over there, they'll all say, I would rather stay in my own race. Some of these people still understand that genocide has to do with crossbreeding. When you crossbreed, you're not pure anymore. You're in this mix. And this is worse than genocide. People don't really think about that being a part of genocide, but it's, in our story, I'm a racist. I'm 100% racist. I'm for the pure race. I'm not pure myself, but I understand what the pure race is. Eeyore taught me about that. So, and like I said, we live in the 21st century, and none of this means anything to us today. But a long time ago, it really had a lot of meaning to it.
Yeah, it's awesome that we can. Sorry.
If I take a Chinese and mix it with a Polynesian, you start to lose. You get a fusion, and that person's not really Chinese, it's not really Polynesian, you start to get this mix, you know. If you did this with everybody on the planet, pretty soon we'd just have one culture. You know,
Yeah.
there would be no Indian, there'd be no Indian food or Chinese food or.
Oh, we're losing you again.
Or, you know, mix.
There you are. Yeah. No, I like, and I appreciate that idea that you want to keep cultures. It seems so strange to me that people seem kind of, you know, bent on creating this mega culture that spreads across the planet and we have no difference anywhere. It's like when I go somewhere and travel somewhere, I want to experience something that's outside of my traditional experience, and then I want to probably leave it behind and go back home. But you know, that we don't want to lose all of that diversity, and that's the true diversity that I think that we have in our heritage. And it's sad that today all diversity means to anyone is like whether or not your skin is a different color. You know, it's not whether or not you have a different culture, a different outlook, or a diversity of thought. It's just about how you look. You know, it's your gender, your sex, and your skin tone, and that's an unfortunate thing that we've lost. And I think it's neat too that we can have this conversation and you can say I'm a racist, and you know, the people listening and watching, at least who are commenting, aren't freaking out, because I know that there's a huge swathe of society that would just like lose it right then and like, this guy's a racist and he's talking about eugenics. But you know, like you said, the language has morphed and changed over time, and you know, if we look at the roots of what you're saying and what you mean by it, it's not hateful and it's not evil and it's not oppressive. And so language really is a barrier, and it's important. Words are important, and it's sad to me that we lose so much in translation, because I think if we still had this original language like you're talking about, and that's how we communicated, we'd probably have a much more direct experience of communication with one another.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for the race, yeah, you know, I don't know what else to say about the race. I mean, I'm for the pure race, but you know, all my friends, you know, 90% of my friends are mixes, you know, so,
yeah.
you know, and they're all beautiful people. I love them all. And so it's like, I don't, you know, this, like I said, this information is how it was a long, long time ago, and we're not like this anymore. So, and no race is above any other.
Yeah.
The white race is not above the brown race. There's geniuses in every race. I mean, there's incredible knowledge in every race. So in my story, the white race they're not any better than the African or the Polynesian. We're all people, and we all come from the P and the pole. So, yeah, there's no supreme. Now, the family that this story comes from, it was originally a brown race and turned white in this ice time. Like the word Eeyore. Eeyore is the guy I got the story from, and there's where the word super Eeyore.
Oh.
Super.
Eeyore.
Or interior. Yeah, behavior. So Eeyore, he's all through this language.
Interesting.
And in the root language, yes, any words with this Eeyore. So I feel like this family that gave me this knowledge, they were a superior family to everyone else because they kept this story. I mean, we could give a little story about the heart. I did it the other day on a thing, but the heart is a beautiful story. If you want to hear a story about the heart,
I would love to hear a story about the heart.
We have these sayings, these old sayings. Lindsay, I love you with all my heart.
Mm-hmm.
The heart is the center. The heart of the matter, the heart of the tree, the heart is the center.
Mm-hmm.
I can give my heart to you. Love comes from the heart. It has the form of a Valentine candy box, the heart.
Of a what?
And we call this thing in the chest the Valentine candy box.
Okay, yeah.
Is shaped, has the form of a heart.
Hmm.
So the heart is the center. It has to do with love, the tender heart, you know, all these things that we say about the heart. I love you from the bottom of my heart.
Mm.
And when you find out what the heart really is, none of these are really They're all true, but not for this pump in the chest.
Yeah.
This pump, number one, it's way up here high in the chest. It's not anywhere near your center. It doesn't look like the form of a heart at all. Nothing. It only pumps blood. I once saw a man that they took his pump out, his heart out, and they replaced it with a plastic one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw him, a picture of him in his hospital room. He loved his family. He was watching the Super Bowl in full feeling with a plastic heart. So this pump up here, we call it the pumpa or pump. And it's not the heart at all. You can take it out and put a plastic one in and still love somebody. Who I love, what kind of love that is, and to what degree that love is all in my brain. It has nothing to do with this pump. It's just pumping blood. So, where is this heart? Where is this tender heart to give somebody that I can give you my heart and what has a form of a heart? If you go down into the sexual organs, the man, I'm going to go with the masculine and the feminine. I'll explain the heart of the woman and the man, the true heart, where your love is. It has the form. It's in the center of your body. If I give a man, if you look at a man's penis, the very top of it looks like an apple with the stem taken out.
Yeah.
That's the forbidden fruit. That's the tree of knowledge. Can't eat from the tree of knowledge, but I'm not going to go into that story. But if you look at the top of the man's penis, the very end of it, let's say, there's a third eye. We have two heads. We have a head up here with a neck and another head down there with another neck. And in the head that hangs in four means in front. This head hangs in four of this head in front.
Huh.
So in the forehead, under the foreskin, is the third eye of Shiva. It's where the opens and closes, and from there, where the sperma comes out to make our children. The woman has her apple on top, her clitoris, and the top and the end of her clitoris is her third eye. But if you look at the bottom of my heart, the bottom of my penis has the perfect form of a heart. The bottom of the clitoris has the perfect form of the heart. This is the most tender place of your body. This is the center of your body. This is where your love comes from. So the connection between my brain and my heart is the spine, what we call the root rod, or Hindus would call it the chakra system.
Yes.
It's this. Okay, so when I see my girlfriend, and she's over there, and she starts to, my heart comes hard, straight up. And now you can give your heart to somebody, but you take it home at night. You give this one, you're dead.
Yeah.
In the center of the body. It is the most tender place. You can pound me in the chest, no problem. Please don't hit me in my heart, because it's very tender down there.
True.
So the real heart is the bottom of the woman's clitoris and the bottom of the man's penis. They're both the same. It's just the woman has a smaller one and the man has a bigger one, but it's the same apparatus.
Right.
It's where we're not going to go, maybe, I don't know unless you want to, but anyway. So the heart is actually down here. It's not this thing up here.
It's funny too, because I'm like, in my head, the center of my body is my center chakra, or my like thymus gland or whatever. But you're saying that it's the center down there, and it's more closer to the physical center, right? Because my legs are like the same length as my like torso area. But then that's the last chakra too. There's not any more below that, right?
No, it's the heart chakra. And the third eye is it's when a woman, when she has a climax, she has this liquid sob, we call sap, or in English sob, and it comes out. And that's the woman's essence. And when the man has an orgasm, a woman has climax. She's the clitoris, she's the ma. Man is not the klima. Klima also means climate in English, or in root language. So the man, he has something called orgasm. And the woman has climax. Now in English we make it climax. So we've changed it. The English makes all these beautiful words. You lose the association.
Yeah.
Ugly. Yeah. So she has the klima, and we have the orga. So we have a different. We both come, but it's a different process.
Yeah.
And yeah, we'll let that. There's a story about that, but maybe we'll save it for another time. But anyway, I just give this explanation.
Yeah.
Of what the heart really is. It is the most tender place, and yes, you can give it to somebody, but you take it home, and it is the center. When the man stands erection, it's right to his belly button.
Yeah.
And that's his dead center. So the heart is the center of the body, according to this. And like I said, the bottom of the clitoris has this form of a heart, and the bottom of the man's penis has this form of a heart. So
it's interesting.
The Hindus, and nobody has this story. Only Eeyore had this story. Nobody else. The whole planet. Nobody. They all go like this for the heart.
Yeah.
The heart chakra. So for us, the heart is something completely different.
It is. It's the most sensitive. It's also the most powerful in a way because that's the center of creation in your body, physically at least. Right?
Yeah, that's what we make our children with. It's our. I mean, I don't know that there's any better feeling than a climax or an orgasm for free. That is the free. It's given to us from nature, and that's
Thank you.
Yeah,
I like the eternal kind of unknowable question of which orgasm is better, a man's or a woman's, because we'll never know.
No, I think both are just incredible. I mean, if you listen to two people get it on, I mean,
true.
She's screaming, he's screaming. He's grunting, and she's going, ah, 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 ah. So, I mean, I don't know anything else that happens.
That's that exclamatory.
Yeah,
well, that's one of my great sadnesses is that I feel like we're, as a culture, like we were talking about earlier, very cut off from our sex and sexuality. And it's like, I'm losing the word, but it's made into this evil, bad thing. And not only that, but then young people, especially who have come up in the world, have all of this exposure to a very disgusting and twisted form of sexuality that's very devoid of actual connection and real love, and that makes me really sad because I feel like it is this very sacred act and this very sacred union and this very important action that you can take that is kind of some of your most powerful experiences that you can have, and people are just kind of taught to like throw it aside and cheapen it, and it makes me really sad that we don't have any sort of honor for this activity anymore.
I mean, do you want to go into something taboo?
Sure. We're all about that here.
You're going to start getting some comments on this, okay?
Yeah, we'll see if this gets me kicked off YouTube.
Actually, if you look at the nature, they only fornicate to make children. They don't do it for pleasure like we do. Okay, so before the man and the woman, the women were chosen for beauty and health, and the men were chosen for size and anatomy. Not every woman and man can make a child in the old days. We were selective because we wanted big, strong, beautiful, healthy babies. Today, any little short guy and any little sick woman can make a child, but before we couldn't do like that. Okay. Now at 7 years old, the little boy starts to get sperma in his balls. And the little girl, she starts to get wet at 7. So this is nature telling you that to masturbate.
Yeah.
Okay?
And kids do. Like kids will just do it naturally. You don't even it's not something they learn from their surroundings. They'll just it's like a developmental thing.
It's natural.
Yeah.
It's natural. Little girl starts putting her finger and a little guy starts, hey, this feels great, you know. But then the church came along and said, God's watching you. So now the little girl and the little boy have to go hide in the closet so God can't see. So they really put an end to this. Now this is where it's going to come to a little bit of a... In the man's orgasm, this water that comes out, it's called the water of life. And it comes of a river. The night that my mother and my father made me, my father, he put his E in my mother's ooh. And out came this orgasm. And it was the biggest race of my life. Every one of these little spermas had a head, a body, and a tail, and it was a big race.
Oh no, you're lost.
And
oh, there you are. The last thing we heard was that it was the biggest race of your life against all the other sperm.
Right. Now, you can see films. There's one film called The Miracle of Life from the 70s. It's on Nova. And you can see the race. This Swedish doctor or photographer did from the orgasm to the child's born. It showed the whole thing. Are we still linked up okay?
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at this race, some of these spermas, they go the wrong direction. They choose the wrong direction. They end up in a dead end. Some of them get tired and some of them even start a fight with another one.
Yeah.
And some of them decide, I don't want this way. I'm going to turn around and go backwards.
Like, I want to go home.
Yeah, I'm going back to Papa. So each of these sperms or spermas is one soul. If one of these little fish, there's the eel again. They look like an eel. If one of these little eels goes to my mother, he pushes his nose, and the mother opens the door and lets it come in, and then she slams the door on the tail, and the tail falls off. And now the soul is in the egg. And this one little sperm creates one human child with a face, a name, and a soul. If two fish go in, there's two different humans, each one with a different face, a different name, and a different soul. If 3 go in, there's triplets. So each of these sperms, you could take one orgasm, take 1 million sperms, and put them into 1 million different females, and make 1 million children with one shot.
Yeah.
So in our story, the soul comes from the father. The woman has something called the energy in root language, what we call in her G. In her G. In her G, yeah, in her G. So in the family, so when this one little sperm goes in, now it has the energy of the mother to start to eat. And now it starts to grow into one. At 6 weeks, it looks like a frog. At 6 months, it looks like a little ape, a little monkey. And at 9 months, it jumps out from the water, like we came out from the water, and we're one human being. So you can still see the eel, the frog, the monkey, the human being. We all come through this in the mother. And the mother, she creates the child. She's the magic. She's the magi, the magic, the magi. But without that sperm, there is no child. The stomach is the mag. So we have the word magi, and E is the E. So this magic is actually not a magic trip. It's the woman creating a child. This is the magic.
Yeah.
So, and everyone who's listening to this out there in your world, listening, they're all winners.
Yeah,
If you
we
didn't
made
win
it.
this race, yeah, so we start as a winner. If you don't win that human race, so that's the biggest race of your life. So everyone that's listening to this today, we're all winners.
Good job,
We
guys.
start out as a winner, and this society makes us a loser.
Yeah.
So for us in this saga, the men were taught that they should never lose their seed because it's a life force, the soul power that makes their brain work. So every boy was taught one yoga position where he lay on his back when he's young, 7 years old. He puts his legs behind his head and he puts his own penis in his own mouth and he drinks
That seems
his own seed.
that seems impossible. Just on a physical, like I just couldn't do that. That's amazing.
In one of my videos, I get into this position.
Wow.
Yeah, I can still do it, but anyway, but that was the way. And so now the sperma,
It's like, so it's a way of retaining your own energy.
yes. So I'll give it from the mouth. So for 35 years since I heard this story, I haven't lost my seed but once.
Wow.
I drink my own. I suck seed. And now the sperma goes from me into my stomach when I drink it. It goes into my stomach and the sperma becomes plasma. And plasma is the red blood cell, and the sun is made of plasma.
Huh.
Plasma in English, plasma, but we call it plasma. And now this plasma, this red blood cell, goes to the brain cell. And now my brain cell lives in the red blood cell. And now this red blood cell goes down my chakra, my spine, back into my balls. And it goes around and around, called the Uden ring, the white ring.
Which is a yoga. In yoga, you also have this energetic idea that you're going to pick your energy up and send it down and around and like keep it in a loop sometimes.
That's this Kundalini, yes. Yeah. But it's not nature to hold back. It's nature to let it come. To sit there and to deny that feeling and to deny it and subdue it and subdue it. It's not nature. So it goes around and around and around. I don't lose it. It just stays inside of me. It goes around and around. And now my penis is what we call one stand. Like a lamp has a stand. So under my stand is my balls. So when my stand is standing, I drink from my stand, from under my stand, and that's my understanding for this story. It comes from under my stand when it's standing.
Yeah.
And that's this. For the woman, her brain is also, her fluid, she has a climax, is silver. In the man, it's more like, if it's healthy sperm, it's got yellow, gold. It's like an egg. But when the woman, when she climaxed, she was taught a different position. She was taught with a carrot. And the carrot we call more root in root language. More is the mother and root is the root. We say care root. You take care with the root. So every girl was taught at 7 to take a carrot and peel it. It has a big end and a small end. And the small end, the word clitorius, cli means to scratch or tickle in root language. Cli. Tour is the woman's, her little tour. Man has something called Tour's hammer. It's his big tour. So cleat, tour. Cle means scratch, leet means light, and leet means little. So the girl, she could cleat her little tour, her little light tour, and re means again and again, and S means the sun. So if she cleave the tour, she could re the sun. So every girl, the little end of the carrot, she could cleave her tour. But if she wanted deep she turned it around the big end and pushed it up. So she could do it either way, because there's two different ways to climax, from deep penetration or just with the clitoris. I hope we don't get in trouble for all this.
Well, I mean, if this was like an anthropological study, we would just be describing someone's culture. So I don't see why we would get in trouble, but I know that lots of people are really ridiculous, so who knows. But it's what's interesting to me, aside from the practices, which are interesting, the idea of it, because in some traditions, the, like, if we want to call this sex magic, whatever we want to call it, in some traditions, the people are, like you were saying, like unnaturally maybe, but like holding back. So they would bring themselves almost to climax or orgasm and then not climax or orgasm and then keep that energy within them. So it's an opposite look of it, right? Like the way you're describing, you're also keeping your own energy in your cycle, but you're doing it through coming to orgasm and climax. So it's interesting to me that there's these two totally different ways of using sexual energy. Both of them are saying that they're keeping your energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Have you heard of those other ways? And what do you think about that sort of opposition that exists?
Yeah, the Hindus have this thing where they don't come, but the problem is Eeyore used to say, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So if a girl doesn't do it, her brain starts to dry up. And if a man, if he throws his seed away and throws it away and throws it away and throws it away, every time he throws it away, he throws these little eels away. And then one day he doesn't have any little eels left. And his brain just starts to dry up. I think this is what dementia is and this Alzheimer's. It's the nature wants to climax and wants to come. I could make orgasm 20 times a day.
Wow.
As long as I don't throw it away.
Yeah.
So as long as I recycle it, fuck it, let's do it again. Let's do it again. But in this other way, this tantric way, where you get it to this almost, and then you stop, this is not natural.
Yeah.
And actually, in the end, I remember in my early days, I did tantric, and you end up with something called blue balls. I mean, you get this pressure inside, and if you don't come, you're walking around bow-legged all day. I mean, it's a terrible feeling.
Yeah, that's what I've heard from some guys too. So I'm like, I don't understand how people would do this effectively if it's damaging, if it's painful.
Well, the girl, she would climax on this carrot, and then she'd eat the carrot. So she could just make her ring too. It was for both. Everything in this story is for male, is also for female.
Yeah,
so
I like that balance.
It's all about that. But before, the woman would never throw her climax away, and the man would never throw his seed away. We kept those. And today, of course, it's like they're all throwing it away.
It's like everything else in our culture is like mirrored in this act of we just throw everything away. We just cast it all aside and let it all go. But I do want to go back to before we start to wind things up, because when you said Tartar, there was people in the chat and I perked up because there's this whole idea of Tartaria and this, culture that we had that was maybe not even that long ago, that was worldwide, and, this fantastic technology and architecture and culture, and just seems to have disappeared. And I wonder if you think is that the same Tartar as you had brought up, or do you think they're connected, or what do you think about that sort of idea that this was a really established culture that sort of just disappeared suddenly?
I think the Tartars are still in existence. I mean, it's a mixed race of people.
Yeah.
Tartaria, Tar in our story is female. Sistar, Matar, so, but the Tartar, it's just a cross between the Hindu and the Russian. So they're still, and the Mongolian is a cross between the Russian and the Chinese, and the Slav is a cross between the white and the brown race. So these are three mixed races. But I don't know what today they're digging the best they can. I don't, there's archaeologists, there's people out there looking and looking. But if you don't know the saga, you're just spinning out as far as I'm concerned, because they just don't understand. I mean, the history today is told backwards.
Yeah.
Who we are now, who we were 50 years ago, 500 years ago, who were we 1,000 years ago, and by the time they get to about 5,000 years ago, they're scratching their heads. They're just guessing.
Yeah.
Whereas we don't, and we start at the beginning and come to now. You don't read a book from the back to the front. You read it from the front to the back.
Yeah.
So we start from the beginning and come to now. So we tell the history the way it should be told. So, yeah, I mean, we're just, in my videos, there's a lot of information in there, and I can make a mistake, but the mistakes I make are very small, and I've tried to correct them. It's just a slip of the tongue every once in a while.
Yeah.
But
well, it sounds like a massive story too, to be able to recite it perfectly or, remember every single detail all of the time would be a pretty massive feat. And I wanted to ask you actually about that. Like what is like the hardest part of being sort of the carrier of this story, and also what is the best part about it?
I don't feel like I'm anything special at all. I'm just a guy, and somehow in the destiny or the karma, I got to meet this guy in my life, and I got to spend years and years listening to this story. And so I don't know. It's the story itself is the oldest story on the planet. And the information it gives is the most incredible information I've ever heard from any story, anywhere. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I have any pressure on me. Everything that I had to say, and like I said, there's other people who can go much more into this linguistics and stuff than I can. So I'm just a storyteller.
Yeah.
But there's other people who can go way beyond me in this sense. It's just a lot of people don't want to say anything because, this really steps on a lot of people's faces. It really, religions and scientists and, NASA, everybody, they're really, yeah, it's just gonna, if this story, there's a lot of people who paid a lot of money to go to college, they're just going to find out that they have a head full of garbage.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make anything. So, yeah, I think it's the most valuable information ever given to the human race. But I think most of us in this story, we're not in any kind of ego trips or I'm the great this or I'm the great that. We're just people who, for some reason, got to meet this guy and sit there and get this information.
I would almost say that that's part of why you kind of fell into that position or were selected or however you think that happened in the grand scheme of things is because you're that humble. Because I think someone who had ego caught up in it wouldn't be able to deliver the message. And more importantly, people wouldn't be able to hear it, especially because, like you say, a lot of the aspects of the story that you're presenting fly directly in the face of a lot of what people have been told to think and believe. And so they have to hear that from a place that has no real sort of stake in it almost, so your humility, I think, is a big part of why that would work out for you. And it's nice that there's other people that have it too, and that you've done such a good job of telling the story in so many different ways and venues, because hopefully there's no danger of the story dying out. But I wanted to ask you in that vein of like the future, and hopefully it doesn't die out, what do you hope for the kind of future of humanity, whether in connection to the Bock Saga or not?
Well, a return to nature, to a life of nature. I think that's my biggest dream, is that
Amen.
The human race, in this story, the military was all about making children. The word infantry, the infant is the baby and the tree is our family tree. Mm-hmm. So we were making infants for our tree in the infantry. So this killing people and leaving them on the battlefield is new on the earth. Mm-hmm. Ancient times, it's in my videos, we were making children. So I think that my biggest dream is the paradise, what we call the paradise. There was nobody sick. We were making beautiful, healthy children in a nature way for our future. And I just feel like we should, we're going to return to the paradise. And that's my biggest hope is, a human being can learn how to live with each other and respect each other, even if we're different.
Yeah.
Before we lived in the life wheel. Today we live in the money wheel.
Yeah.
And the money wheel we're all slaves to the money wheel.
Yes.
We have to make our bread and cheese. We have to make this money. And before the money was, in bond language, called Raha. But anyway, the money before was what we had inside of us, not what we had on the inside. It was how much silver the woman's climax and how much gold was in the man's sperm. This was the riches, the silver and the gold.
And that's free.
So today, we live in a very artificial system. There's people who have all these stocks and bonds and gold and silver and this and that and all this in this portfolio. It's very artificial. Whereas before, I want to see a world where we're judged for what's inside of us.
Yeah.
Rather the good inside than the goods on the outside.
Amen. I love that vision that you have for the future, and it's a fitting day to tell our visions for the future since it's our New Year's Eve. But why don't you tell us and share with us where people can find more of those videos, since I know we barely scratched the surface here, and there's a lot more that people can dig into in the saga.
Well, when Eeyore died in 2010, nobody in the saga started to really do anything. And English wasn't Eeyore's first language. So, I don't know. I just felt like I had all these years of this stuff in my head. I needed to put it out. So, I met a really dear friend of mine. He's from Moscow. And he was a film guy. So, I made a series called 8 Powers, which is the saga itself, the telling of the saga from to the end. And it's on YouTube. And I made another one called Welcome to Atlantis, which is a story about where the white people come from. And I made another one called Welcome to Hell, which is a documentary and a tour of the real Holy Land. Israel's not the Holy Land. And I made another one called Welcome to Rajasthan, which is the story of the Jewish people and where they come from and the gypsies and why they came like they did. And there's these tapes that I made. They're all on YouTube. Bock Saga, Bocksaga, Bock Saga. And if they go there, I've made all kinds of stuff. Now, there's nothing else I need to put on video. This last summer, I was in hell, and we made my last video. So everything, I've drained my brain. There's some things that I didn't say on some of them, but there'll be other people who will come along later and give it in a much better, even better than what I can do.
Yeah.
So if they go to YouTube, Bock Saga, you'll see the whole list of all the stuff that I've done. And there's hours and hours and hours and hours of it.
That's
but
awesome.
Yeah, I only do these podcasts now. I don't make any more videos. So, if somebody has the interest, I'll do it. And I'm a Bock Saga machine. I mean, I live to tell this story. It was my destiny.
Yeah.
So, when people like you ask me to do these programs, it gives me something to live for. It really does, because without you people, I just sit here and
wait to tell the story, and not a lot of people are asking or listening.
No, it's my friend Kevin Woods, who's there's a new book out. Looks like this.
The Bock Saga. Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
And this could be found on Amazon.
Cool.
And it's my friend Michel Merle, who's a Dutch guy, and my friend Kevin Woods, and another Dutch guy called Carl Borgen. He's the one who wrote it. And that can be ordered, Bock Saga introduction. It can be ordered. I think there's a paper and that's that. And then there's all these videos. And if people get through that, and like I say, you can't listen to it once. You have to listen to it over and over and over if you really have the interest. You know, it's just it's a huge story. It's really big.
Yes.
And so people have an interest in this kind of thing. Well, then I would suggest to look at these videos that are on there.
That's awesome.
And for those who are satisfied with the way it is, and they don't need to look at it at all. So
right.
I would rather have a few really, really good, interested people than a million who just fly over it.
I'm exactly the same.
I'm for quality instead of quantity. So
Amen.
You're going to have some of your people who will just say, hey, this guy is out to lunch. He's really... And then you're going to have a few people go, hey, wow, the heart, this and that. And they'll get it, and they'll be the ones. And so we're just on a fishing trip, just,
yes.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that bite the worm. I think that if they're really interested in where we come from and what the soul and what the spirit and all this kind of stuff is, I think this is the story to listen to.
Yes, and I think you're right. I think if it resonates with people, those are the right people for it to resonate with that are going to go grab it and then bring it into the future as well. So I like that way of describing it as a fishing trip. That's perfect because that's what it is. So
what else?
Yeah. So if you were going to give all of our listeners sort of some final words of wisdom or something that they can kind of take away from tonight and bring forward into the new year, what might you want to share with them?
I think I would go with the saga, the motto that this family had. And this is what it is. And this is, you follow your feelings. You work as little as possible. And you have a nice life.
Wow. I needed to hear that. Thank you for that. That's perfect.
Follow your feelings. Work as little as possible. And have a nice life.
All right, you hear that, guys? That's gonna be my motto. Remind me when I try to work too hard.
Yeah, right. Then you're not having a good life,
Absolutely true. That is absolutely true. All right, well, fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing. This has been your analog, electric, concentric dose of wisdom, according to Jim Chesnar. Jim, thank you so much for sharing your time and knowledge with us tonight. And Happy New Year to you.
And have a 2020 is perfect vision.
Yes.
May everybody have perfect vision this next year. And Lindsay, thank you so much. I've done many podcasts with guys, always guys. And I told your friend Rose, I said, Rose, I wish the female. And she says, I know just the one.
Oh, thank you, Rose.
So you're the only female who's ever asked me to do one.
Wow.
I can't say I appreciate. Because, yeah, it's kind of a masculine, but it's also all this feminine stuff, too.
Yeah.
So, you're a special person for me now.
Oh, thank you. It's definitely my honor, and that's awesome to hear. I love it. Thank you for sharing that. All right, well, Happy New Year's, my friends. Remember, 2020 is just a number. It might mean almost nothing given how little of our history we truly understand and how inaccurately much of it has been represented. This random calendrical denotation is as meaningful as any other date in the book, but by all means, take your chance to celebrate those who you love, and by all means, remember that the true dates of cyclical balance and power are not often celebrated or marked on a calendar for the most part. So as we see again and again, it is best to root out the stories of antiquity, the ways and methods of our ancestors, and the truths that we can find in nature in order to guide where we place our energies. And until you find your own energetic merging with all that is, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah! Happy New Year's, everybody!
It's a one-on-one lesson, so do your homework.
Wow. They can still hear us, so hold on.
Vibes manifested to words that told me search for verbs and adjectives to describe birth. Work more than one can speak, while the tongue beats a weak, a sour taste in your mouth, bittersweet. Words can also kill you when you sleep. Mind condition, low frequencies while the subconscious mind listens. place where the god is food and sorcery. To recreate the god forgery, there's more than meets the eye, not too many know. Just hear me flow like the eye of Horus Pinio. Yeah, not ready to leave until we believe we're free to go. You hear me, yo?
From the ether, the material will eat ya. Stuck on this plane, lanes use jet fuel to greet ya. The dimensional three ain't meeting me on top of the fourth. Didn't climb Jacob's ladder to squab with a sword. Forged with Yggdrasil, branched out. Try quiet your lamps now. Ascension past the matter that they slam out they damn mouths. We ain't on land now, but they over understand. Sacrificing wisdom, hoarding dumber, kosher, wicked hands. Putting faith in worthless worship of the mortals. Artificial portals, mass ingestion of the black goo. Bioengineered morsels, conversing with machine elves. Bypassing maggots, they stuck on Android screens now. I'm scrolling emerald tablets. Moloch living lavish, off the backs of the savage. Them clasped hands at the Sabbath. Smack of energy damage, they done twisted the tongues. With nanotech in the lungs, the awakening's begun. All they really can do is fucking run.